So I restart my phone, bam, it ends up working. And I'm like, okay, I'm dumb. I should have done that in the first place. So I come back, and again, like I'd already kind of worked out, but I was like, yeah, but I'm still like, it's still like, fresh day. It's nice weather, and going on a hike still sounds like a good idea to me. So then I ended up going on another long walk, about 30 minutes to actually get to the base of the mountain, because the bus ride is going to take 24 minutes anyway. So I was like, I'll get more exercise in, get to the base of this mountain, and good God, there's such a steep climb. And I'm being passed by like a bunch of like older Korean folk who are just so used to climbing this stupid hill where like they probably live. But I eventually get rewarded with a cool temple and the actual hiking part of it. It was quite fun. Eventually leave, so I spent from like 9:30 in the morning to like 3 p.m. to just walking and hiking and all types of stuff. Then had a delicious dinner at a Chinese dim sum restaurant. It was really good. I actually took a VOD footage of this. You might see this on my travel vlog channel if I get around to editing it all out. But then I was quite tired, so I took a nap, and then I woke up at like 9 p.m. and then I just felt like going out and trying some like good whiskey or good cocktails. So I wanted to find like a decent place, not just some place to, like party or anything like that. And I found this place called Barcode, which is when I tweeted on Twitter. So it was pretty cool. It was a cool experience. The bartender was actually a really cool guy. Haven't introduced the players yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Bottom left of Inside and Out, GuMiHo. Top right, Percival. Percival, what you can call an up-and-coming Terran player, I suppose, but really, he's been around for a very long time. Never really able to make, honestly, that much of a statement, unfortunately. Doesn't really beat any of the people who haven't gone to military, and then when people come back from the military, such as like a GuMiHo, doesn't manage to beat them too often either. Can be a little feisty, can sometimes cause upsets, but just generally not so much. So in a TvT, barring any probably like early game weirdness, I don't believe he's going to beat GuMiHo. And in fact, speaking of early game, we got Reaper Wars going favorably for GuMiHo as he wins the one-on-one micro battle with the Reapers. SCV didn't even have to tank that many shots. And of course, the Reaper regen's kicking in, going to delay the command center of his opponents, which is quite important because GuMiHo's own command center was much later. So Percival, he went for a greedy build, man. That is literally what happened here. He went for a greedy build. He went run at 1 Rax expand, only 1 Reaper, not even a Marine afterwards, which gives him a slightly faster reactor, but also means that he has nothing to help if he loses that first Reaper. And even if he didn't lose the first Reaper, it might have been able to buy enough time for the command center to finish, which would have been much better, don't get me wrong. But it still would have been a little complicated, especially if this bunker actually got up just a second away from actually finishing. But I still think that Percival has problems. This 1 Reaper barely, no, not, well, it's not going to go down, but then also this Hellion's kind of left alone, wanted to get back into the bunker because an SCV had managed to sneak its way in there. Ah, okay, okay. Well, that could have been way worse for Percival. As it is, I still think that GuMiHo isn't enough damage. Still delaying the command center, now ahead with his command center. And this Reaper maybe could go in later and see a good scout, maybe get an SCV or something like that. So, still think that GuMiHo got what he wanted, which was an evening out of the builds, and a little bit more than that as well. But, could have been way worse. Because it could have been like, GG next type of situation. So anyways, the bartender was really, really cool. You can still be wasted last night and still be okay now since it's been a while. Not really. Since I said I was up until 3 a.m. Technically, if I had woken up just before this cast started, it would have been 8-ish hours. But that's only if I like went to sleep immediately and then woke up without any interruptions, I suppose. Which I actually woke up at 7 in the morning today. A little bit of a micro battle necessary for GuMiHo to actually stop this would-be push, I suppose you could call it. A Cyclone will live, pretty important there. And Percival might have been looking to kind of use that initial pressure to then go for, yeah, there you go, a tank drop. The fact that a lot of the units that were with this are destroyed should make this a bit easier for GuMiHo. Fortunately, that Cyclone was not actually seen by the tanks. I believe it was in range, but the medevac just hadn't come forward yet. GuMiHo now scans and realizes, oh, okay, that's what you're doing, because he did not go back in with the Reaper, which, you know, certainly you could say that was just a straight-up mistake from GuMiHo. Not that he would have maybe 100% been able to tell what the was going to be a medevac, but he might have been. I don't actually know when Percival got that. Where did you guys go? Hey, Special. A place called Barcode. I tweeted about it, and it ended up being a really cool, basically a speakeasy. So I was going to talk about it a little bit more, but this TvT is actually a bit action-packed. We got the Reaper War, we got the defense of the first push, and now we have an attempted defense of really, I guess, the continuation of the push, which so far is so good on the side of GuMiHo. Some excellent micro going around on that battle. GuMiHo made sure to have about as big of a concave as possible, so really mitigating the tank damage, even though there just generally weren't that many units. And then good pullback on the Cyclone to once again have it live. It is, you know, eventually, probably in the next, maybe like in 2 or 3 minutes, not going to have a place in TvT so much. But as we're still stuck on kind of the low quantity, high quality section of TvT, one Cyclone can be extremely helpful. Picking off a Viking, getting this weak tank, or the tank goes too far forward, either way. Well-timed scan by GuMiHo there. And it's pretty good. Pretty useful to have. It does get 2-shot by a tank, which means that it can actually, yeah, exactly this, kind of like tank a shot, and then go back and be repaired, try it again. So it barely didn't get the Viking. Behind this, Percival is grabbing Stim. GuMiHo is already done with his 3rd CC. So that's kind of the worrisome part for Percival right now, is that he is just significantly behind on economy. Well, actually, I mean, making the decision to go just into a 2-base follow-up anyway, so maybe not so much a problem, but this is what used to be a classic TvT, I want to say years ago. Like, I remember Innovation being the 3CC'er versus a lot of the 2-base aggressive Terrans. But, yeah. So you get up to all of this on 2 bases, right? And then it's up to the guy who has a 3rd CC to utilize that, again, low quantity, low number of units, but high quality units usually, to defend kind of perfectly, like well-positioned until their own stim and combat shields are done, because that's going to be, of course, one of the dramatic differences between the two, as well as just the amount of Marines, of course, with all the barracks production being done. So it is very possible for GuMiHo to perfectly play this out, but I don't think he's aware that this is Percival's plan. But this might not be so much of a problem. I don't know exactly how this engagement is going to go. Tank sieging up, of course, faster for Percival, but Raven coming with the auto turrets. I think the auto turrets not only did a bunch of burst damage, they also probably tanked one of the first volleys of Percival's tanks, and that means that GuMiHo is going to win this battle, and it pretty much just sends Percival to the next game. Like, it's a bad situation. Because if he was this down in supply, but I don't know, still had that army roaming around, then we're talking about a lot of weird scenarios. Base raids, doom drops, what have you. But, you know, just getting hit, losing the army, having the ability to rebuild, but while literally being contained, it's like the opposite of what you wanted to be for Percival. You wanted to be the one that was having GuMiHo have to be on his heels, have to be the scared one, have to be worrying, like, where are you coming to attack me? And now it's like, well, GuMiHo's literally just capable of seeing where Percival's army is, and just needs to size up whether or not he can stay here, which, even if he does get cleaned up here, it's going to be a huge loss of life for Percival. SCV pool was very appropriate to give kudos to Percival there on the decision-making, but it's a Band-Aid. 9 SCVs go down when his economy was already poorer than GuMiHo's. And there you have it. GuMiHo does take game number 1. Seems you guys had fun. Who went? I just was talking to Mudkips, and he eventually came out, but I was okay going alone. I'm glad that I found a chill place, because I think it would have been a little weird if I had ended up going to a place that was more like a bar, where like there was a ton of people and they're all trying to like pick each other up. But this was real speakeasy. This was like they don't have a menu. So you just would see their signs pointing down into the basement saying like, well, choose what you like or something like that. And you get down there and it's all speakeasy themed. Like there's no decorations on the door, so you're kind of like, am I in the right place? You get in there and there's the the music that they would have been playing back in the 1920s going on. And then the bartender actually spoke English, very, very good English.
You are doing something right, Captain.
So he was able to explain it to me and just said, like, yeah, anything that, you know, piques your interest, let me know. Or if you just want me to create a cocktail, kind of guesswork, that's fine too. And I pointed to the Japanese whiskey he had and said, I'd like to try some of that. And he brought out like 5 bottles and explained to me, you know, all the differences and stuff. So I sat there for like an hour by myself, just chilling. Very chill, because for those who don't know, it is Chuseok, like, which is always equated to basically Korean Thanksgiving. Pretty much a fair comparison, I think, but not all-encompassing. We're on Waterfall, by the way, for game number 2. Bottom left, Percival. Top right, GuMiHo. So, yeah, the Korean Thanksgiving, I think, doesn't really give it enough credit for how big of a deal it is. Because I would say it's more like, with how big of a deal it is, it's more like maybe Christmas. But I mean, that's my perception of like my family's Thanksgiving, which, I don't know, is like never really been like that big of a deal. Definitely did the whole making Thanksgiving dinner, of course, on Thursday. And there's a 4-day weekend for Thanksgiving as well as for Chuseok, except it goes not from Thursday to Sunday, but rather to, from Friday to Monday. It's like all the observed holiday. But it's like the biggest holiday. So a lot of people were traveling and a lot of places closed down. So it's definitely less lively for Seoul, but it certainly isn't completely shut down. I mean, more places are shut down than you would expect. Like, even chains. Some of them were just completely shut down the entire weekend. But there are definitely still places open, especially any places that are visited frequently or straight up owned by foreigners. They're usually open. They don't, you know, it's whatever. So you can still go out, but the option's going to be a little more limited. I walked out yesterday to go to this place, and I take like a minute walk, not even 2 minute, like a minute walk to get to the main street where I'm at, and I'm pretty sure they were shooting a movie. Like they had like locked down the section of the road and had a bunch of really fancy movie equipment that they were setting up and starting to like put down, I guess, like no pass zone so that no one would interrupt the shot. I didn't stick around. I didn't creep because there'd be no purpose. I'd have no idea who I was looking for anyways, but I thought it was kind of cool. All right, another Reaper War, but this time Percival did not go for a very greedy opener, much more similar to what GuMiHo's doing, in fact. So you still want to make sure you win the Micro War and not let any silly mistakes happen there, but, you know, it's maybe a little more forgiving if you do. Helen would have popped out, but it's a very short map, so yeah, just basically still don't lose the Micro War. But Percival's going for multiple Reapers, multiple Hellions. GuMiHo actually starting to move away from that composition at the same time. Actually, at the same time, so equal.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
Thank you, Taeyu, for the 38 months, by the way. And Henry 8 to Kiwi. Change your name. Thank you for that 9-month sub. So always an 8 in there? Okay, looks like maybe the Hellion battle went favorably for GuMiHo, who's not going to try and push the issue, but Waterfall does have a natural ramp, so that was always going to be a little sketch. However, you could see how maybe GuMiHo would have been okay there. So first of all, a lot of these Reapers got very injured. Maybe, you know, 2 out of 3 could have died. Plus the Hellions were still very injured, and the mass repair happening kind of at the same time. So it's still, I feel like, unlikely with the same amount of units to beat that high ground positioning, but GuMiHo thought it might be possible. Wasn't quite right about that one. Technically lower on the army supply, but with the Cyclone popping out, kind of perfectly timed, should be able to mitigate damage. In fact, is he even going to take any SCV damage? I'm not sure that he did. Cyclone's going to go out for revenge too. Like, I get you, buddy. Okay, technically GuMiHo lost 1 SCV, but that might have been the Reaper micro SCV. So I'm not completely sure. But point is, not a lot of damage on the counterattack. Percival has a 1 SCV lead. Nope, make that 3 SCVs. Little army supply lead. Oh, he's so cute. And that's about it. Otherwise, it was very identical, but was past tense because GuMiHo actually adds on a second starport. So dramatic difference in the way they're going to play this TvT out. Too bad you only order soju. Me? I didn't order any soju. Although, what happened, so, we were there for, like, quite a few hours. Just, hanging out. Like, the bartender said that he was going to close it whenever. Actually, the bartender had a very interesting, I guess, story, I guess. Like, we were asking him, you know, when's the last call, when are you going to close? And he said, whenever I feel like it. We're like, okay, that's cool, because that's not totally uncommon here. And then he said, yeah, I'm kind of, like, recovering after a breakup. I just broke up with my girlfriend of 8 years yesterday. And me and Mudkip were like, oh, okay. Cool, cool, cool. Like, I don't know what you really say to that. Someone who's, like, walking away as he says it, you know? But so we ended up staying out pretty late. But the guy, you know, he gave me the whiskey after trying to recommend, like, you know, what whiskey's really good. Then he made me a cocktail that was, like, a fancy Moscow Mule, Irish Mule, actually. Then he made me a gin and tonic that was pretty good. And then as we were kind of winding down, he comes up to us and he's like, do you guys want to taste, like, real soju? And we looked at each other and he was like, for free. And then we're like, okay, well, you can't say no to something that's for free. And he gave us these little tiny little, like, not even shot glasses. They had, like, a little, like, handle on them. Like, little tiny beer glasses. And put some actual soju in it, which I'll get into in a second. This is a little more important. GuMiHo gets bopped. That was a freaking bop. I mean, I was looking at it kind of while talking, and I kind of was like, it doesn't look like it's going to go that well for GuMiHo. But I think GuMiHo is really interested in getting into a crucial position, which if he had, and he's going for that air superiority, Percival would have been screwed. If GuMiHo had actually gotten into a very abusive position because Percival didn't realize what was happening, didn't track the army correctly, whatever, then tank-Viking combination is so hard to break out, especially when you're going for a very similar composition. So if you're also going for tanks and Vikings, well, you're just going to get beat out, right? They're making more than that. If you go into something else, like more barracks production, it can get maybe a bit different. But point is, by kind of nipping that in the bud, just following it and then taking a good fight, that concave was great, interference pitches were great. This kind of flips to now the mech player, so really air mech, a lot of it, but in general, mech player is the one that is contained, which is a lot more uncomfortable. I'm actually not sure if it's going to be able to, you know, GuMiHo's being able to finagle his way out of this one. Percival having a very good position, grabs 3rd CC, it's on location now, has a 9-worker lead. Probably won't be able to build up to that Viking gain, so I'm actually a little surprised that Percival's even trying to still build Vikings, but might be thinking that GuMiHo went, you know, stop, because that can sometimes happen. You know, someone stops building Vikings, they think they've already won it, or he's just looking to add in units, I guess. Like, medevacs are going to help when he has marine count so low, but this is an interesting decision from GuMiHo. No one expects the Viking drive-by. Drop-by? I don't know. Yeah? Yeah? Not going to play around with any of these upsy-downsies on the command center. Just lifts half of his Vikings. SCVs come back to try and repair. No, they're trying to attack. Either way, it would have been a terrible decision. SCVs are terrible against Vikings. I actually don't know about that for Percival. Like, obviously, the argument is that he wanted to make sure that his reinforcements would take care of the army. So, like last game when the SCV pulled and I gave him credit, I was like, that was a really, you know, that was a educated SCV pull. I don't know about that one. It feels like he actually could have tried to run away with the SCVs and then hoped his reinforcements would take the Marines on. Because the SCVs just like basically just did not help. It's not the same as when they tank a shot from a tank, which attacks very slow. The Vikings attack fast, and they kill mechanical things super fast as well. Case in point, probably right here, right now, the Vikings land on top of Percival's secondary attack, help destroy a lot of the army. And GuMiHo has managed to even up this game. In fact, perhaps even just take a straight-up lead. His commands are now in location, not in orbital, sure, so I think we did have a graph. Oh, okay, the 3rd CC is still alive. Woof. If we have a graph, which I don't believe we do, also I don't... My keyboard doesn't have a numpad, so I don't know how to bring it up on this keyboard. So let's pretend it doesn't have an income graph. I'm going to imagine that Percival was on the up and up, and then it dips really low when he had to pull his SCVs, and then that's when GuMiHo gets his, not just his third CC up, but basically has uninterrupted mining, right? So, point is, Percival had a brief adrenaline rush of superior economy, but not enough, I think, to overcome the next sequence of events. So, we'll see what happens from here, because the supplies are still very similar. I mean, look at the upgrades, right? GuMiHo doesn't even have any upgrades. It's just the idea of when does the mech player get comfortable. And I think when GuMiHo was contained on 2 base, it's obviously very uncomfortable. But if he can actually get this 3rd base up and running, then he would be pretty Gucci. But that's apparently in question. With more bio spilling forth, the Vikings now find themselves a little less useful than some of the earlier game engagements, although no medevacs healing can be a big deal. So that 1 or 2 tank shots really forcing the bio away, and the 3rd CC is... I don't know. Okay, the Vikings are going to land, target fire on those tanks, lickety-split, try and survive against the bio. Looks like maybe one of them will. Literally one of them will. Yeah. Okay, alright, this is actually very interesting TVT. They keep exchanging blows. But right, Percival had more bio included, which was going to really be able to take advantage of the reduced number of tanks when you really don't go into a lot of factories. And then the Vikings are going to struggle to look as effective against, you know, when they drop down to kill bio, it's just not as good looking. So that created some awkwardness, for sure. GuMiHo lost 11 SCVs, and actually bothered, like, he didn't lift his 3rd CC, so there was some consistent mining going on. But Percival... Anyway, he did save his 3rd CC. He did go back to mining eventually. Now even building a 4th command center. Now starting to get the drops in as well. GuMiHo, since this hasn't been just a, you know, boring humdrum TVT, has not been in a position where he just easily got to a 3rd and said, oh, I have some extra cash. Let's get some missile turrets up. There's been some tough decisions made. And actually, honestly, some missed macro, right? Like, 1,000 minerals in the bank. Got to be a little critical. So the engineer bay is now coming down, which I do believe GuMiHo will then add on 4 or 5 missile turrets. But that delay on the engineering bay, you know, probably not thinking of it because of how chaotic this game has gone, is leading to some awkwardness. Like picking off the already low number of tanks with those drops. Yeah, Percival opens up the opportunity to actually go for the killing blow. And will send us to a game 3. GG. GG. I'm happy this isn't just a complete blowout. And we should get into game 3 real quick. These guys make lobbies like pros. Yeah, the soju shots, like, again, it's the cutest little thing. And it really is, like, it's like half of a shot. It's not even a full shot. But... was Belair in here? Yeah, okay. It's apparently, like, real soju, and the guy was saying how there's really, like, only one master who makes real soju. Which, I don't know if that's true or not. Thank you, Atricia X Payne, for that raid. Appreciate it. And he gave us each a little bit, and he's like, yeah, if you like this, then let me know, and I'll give you something else. And he also explained that it's made kind of like how makgeolli is made, which is a rice wine, but with grape as kind of like the basis. I mean, it's not my, that's my field of expertise, all right? But the point is, I wasn't surprised to hear that grape was involved, because I smelled it before I drank it, and it smelled very sweet. It smelled like a soju cocktail. So I was thinking this might actually be pretty good. And it was. It was good. It did taste like grape, like a sweet alcohol, but it was also 50% alcohol. So it was like sipping whiskey, but soju, which I can sip whiskey for sure, but I feel like I've never really been one to even try to sip clear liquors, you know, good vodka, good tequila. I don't care. I'm not going to sit there and sip that. And it was just insanely difficult to drink it. Because you're like, it's sweet, but oh my god, is it alcoholic. And for those who don't know, who might hear soju, you know, equated to vodka and think, okay, the alcohol percentage is the same. It's not. Soju is like 14% or even like 12%. It's really not that bad. But people just drink copious amounts of it, so it kind of makes up for it. So the fact that this was 50% was like, holy shit. I think that's the official end of my bartender / drinking tale. Still a fun night. And this is funny. Saw both of them send an SCV out. They both are doing the 2 racks. So bottom left Percival, top right GuMiHo. Data C, big old map. Both of them are going for the 1 barracks at home. Proxy barracks out in the field. GuMiHo went for a much safer one as far as being scouted. Percival actually went a little more daring, and thus is closer to the Reaper hop-up spot, which, I mean, that could be why Percival has a better shot in this game, but it'll obviously come down also to just basically crisis management, so where you even emphasize the micro and how good your micro is. Did I tell the stream the shot you taught us about at RGB? I don't know if I did, but I absolutely can. I have no shame. There is no shame. I think I might have told people last time I streamed 2 days ago. But, yeah, if you guys want to hear about our adventures at RGB, I guess pay attention, because I do want to focus in a little bit on this TVT. It's been more heated than I was expecting. You know, when I saw the first 4 minutes of the first game look completely GuMiHo dominated, I was like, oh boy, okay, this is going to be a 2-0. People are going to be like, oh, Percival, who even? Why even? But no, we're actually at game 3. We're both doing very similar builds. Although, big difference here. Command center for GuMiHo, factory for Percival. But then... Wait, no. What? Okay, actually... I don't know how this is going to go. SCV's pulled in on both sides, right? They both have very similar situations, and they both are microing the heck out of their Reapers, for the love of God. One Reaper is still pretty far away from Percival for popping. Ditto on... Oh, no, GuMiHo went for a Marine, so that builds faster, but is obviously, like, a little less effective. But if it was there with the SCV... No, this Reaper came from behind! GuMiHo's rallied his Reaper back home! Oh, and that helps gets all the kills. Hot diggity damn. There you go. There you have it. Then wins the 2v1 Reaper war on this side of the map. And Percival, despite having the faster factory, and, you know, a Hellion in general, it's still going to be too late. Percival is going to take a little bit more damage. Although 12 SCVs versus 12, it's still even. But, yep, 13, maybe 14 before the Reapers die. 2 Reapers cannot take on a Hellion. And GuMiHo's, like, next reinforcing Reaper is way, way far off. So... I was thinking 14 or 15 SCV kills versus 12, which would have put an even bigger discrepancy in their worker count. But as it is, still discrepancy is there. GuMiHo's up by 2, and I think his he didn't rebuild the command center. And there's no way a Reaper canceled that. No. So that was just insanely low production time before the SCV got killed. So he's back to building the command center. So the investment's been made there, and eventually it will help pay off. So what you got to worry about, of course, is just a classic dynamic, which is army supply of Percival versus a kind of eventual economy gains from GuMiHo, which means that that moment right there, trying to break up the ramp, was pretty much the most important moment of this particular game. And it did not work out for Percival, so... Okay, his follow-up plan is to go into a drop. Pick up everything, send it into the main base. Reapers obviously can just hop up, right? But now GuMiHo gets that confirmation on it, which he would have gotten whether the supply depots were down or not, right? But gets an easier confirmation on it. Gets some of these low-health SCVs getting picked off on earlier. And Percival is 100% all in. Doesn't even get to stop this natural command center from finishing. Now all GuMiHo has to do is hold on that high ground, but already having some of the scuffle, causing his units to be low and just frankly not that many units, right? Turns things awkward once again. GuMiHo forced to pull the SCVs. Both of them might take a lot of economic damage, but GuMiHo still has twice the amount of SCVs and the natural command center. The Reapers in the main base did not do enough. 3 of them will survive, come back later, try and kill this one Hellion, which they absolutely could do, perfectly microed. Good on GuMiHo to fully repair that, but it is still a lot of damage dealers potentially coming from Percival. It's just that he has so little money, actually. He can't afford even to get to a medevac. And that's that might just be the nail in the coffin. Without being able to bring literally everything up to the high ground, Hellions included, there's no way he's going to beat 2 Hellions, an SCV pool. Oh no, the Medevac's already made. That's my bad, guys. Medevac made. That means he does get the drop, but his Hellions are weak. They kind of line up, but GuMiHo forced to run away. Gonna go kind of the safety of the SCVs. Another Hellion pops for him. Viking's gonna come out eventually too, and that's gonna be insanely helpful. Here's some SCV damage, but Percival needs more. He needs to do a little bit more damage now that they've evened up workers. Still gotta consider the 2 mule factor, right? So the Reapers are still looking for more grenades, popping everything left, right, and center. And the Reapers are still alive. Medevac healing also coming in clutch, but the Medevac will finally go down. The question is, do the Reapers beat the Hellion reinforcements and the Viking landing as well? That is a real kicker. That is going to tank a lot of shots. This has gotten so scrappy. But Percival might just be out of luck. This big, bad Viking. Without it, this might have snowballed. Without that Viking, this might just be GG. With the Viking, it's so tanky. Percival, once again, finds the pocket change, not just to continue building Reapers, but also another Medevac. He's rebuilt some of the SCVs as well, so it's not as desperate of a scenario. And GuMiHo is actually the one struggling a little bit to get the units out. Probably also trying to figure out exactly what is the best unit to afford. So, okay, so he's waiting to have the resource to afford a Viking, which I do believe is... It's the biggest, baddest thing that you can get in this scenario, right? So it takes a little time. It's obviously more expensive, but compared to what else you could get, which is maybe, you know, a Marine every cycle, or 2 Marines, actually. He's got 2 barracks. Holding off on that and instead going for the Viking, I think, was the really good move. Gonna once again help take down... Oh my god, the Hellions just got that lineup on the Reaper. Oh my god. And without a mass amount of Reapers, there's no way that Percival can take on 2 Vikings. Can't even take on the 1 Viking. GuMiHo might be down 3 SCVs, but he does have 2 mules. Percival knows that he still has to do more damage, but it's becoming more and more unlikely. I mean, 2 Vikings alone actually could probably hold against this, but 3 Hellions also still being alive, being repaired up. Now there's a bit more choice for GuMiHo. He can keep the Hellions at home, counterattack with the Vikings, which is exactly what he's going to do. I mean, maybe 3 Hellions in a totally terrible micro situation could die, but I don't... Like, I think the ambiguity of the situation is why GuMiHo's kind of probably like, oh, wait a second, maybe I should be careful here. We know the exact numbers of units, and with the number of units here, I don't think 3 Hellions would be overwhelmed, but the Vikings kind of staying at home is absolutely the safest play, for sure, for sure. So instead of actually going for a counterattack, maybe he was also just scouting a little bit too right there, trying to see what was popping out. Fair enough. He's going to go for a Banshee. And that Banshee, if it's scouted, maybe Percival can afford a Cyclone in time. But he has not gotten back up to the main base. Well, the Banshee's going to come out and show itself anyways. So it's going to clear up all of this army yet again. And then the Banshee is going to counterattack. So there you have it. Percival sees the Banshee, reacts, going to go into a Viking. I don't know. I feel like he will add on the Cyclone. If they have 1 Banshee in this type of game, is it likely they're going to go into 2 with a Cloak? I think so. So you basically got to make sure that you kill the Banshee ASAP. 1 scan. Right? You got 1 scan to kill, well, 2 Banshees actually. So as long as GuMiHo doesn't just throw them away, he would end up killing every single SCV. But Percival also sizing up the situation, taps out. GG. Thank you, Who's for the 27 months, Seal Pup for the 32, and God of the North for the Tier 1 fresh sub. That was a fun first best of 3. That was great.